The Steel Raven's MC garage stood silent under the desert moon, its metal doors reflecting the pale light across cracked asphalt. Inside, Jake Reaper Morrison worked alone. The steady rhythm of his wrench against chrome, the only sound breaking the midnight stillness. Oil stains marked decades of brotherhood beneath flickering fluorescent lights. A soft scratching at the side door made him pause. Desert wind, he thought, returning to the Harley's engine. Then came the unmistakable sound of whimpering, human, young, and terrified. Jake set down his tools and moved toward the sound, his heavy boots echoing in the cavernous space. Through the grimy window, two small silhouettes huddled against the door. Children. His weathered hand hesitated on the handle. The Steel Ravens had rules about civilians, especially kids. Their world was violence, drugs, and territory wars, no place for innocence. But something in their posture, the way they clung to each other, made him turn the lock. The door creaked open, revealing twin girls, maybe 8 years old, covered in dirt and wearing torn pajamas. Their dark hair was matted, faces streaked with tears and grime. They looked up at him with eyes that had seen too much. "Please," the braver twin whispered, her voice barely audible. "They're coming back for us." Jake's blood chilled. In 20 years with the club, he'd seen plenty of evil, but this was different. These weren't street kids or runaways, they were victims of something far worse. "Who's coming back?" he asked, crouching to their level. "The bad men," she replied, pulling her sister closer. "They hurt us, made us do things." Jake's jaw clenched. Whatever code governed his world, it didn't extend to harming children. He stepped aside, gesturing them into the garage's harsh light. "You're safe now," he said, though he knew safety was relative in their world. Jake's call echoed through the clubhouse phone tree like wildfire. Within 30 minutes, headlights cut through the desert darkness as Steel Ravens converged on the garage. President Marcus "Tank" Rodriguez arrived first, his massive frame filling the doorway as he assessed the situation. The twins sat on a workbench, sharing a candy bar Jake had found in his toolbox. They watched the arriving bikers with wide eyes, men covered in leather, tattoos, and scars, their faces hardened by years of violence and brotherhood. "Jesus Christ, Reaper," Tank muttered, running a hand through his graying beard. "What have we got here?" "Trafficking victims," Jake replied quietly, ensuring the girls couldn't hear. "Someone's been using them. They escaped, came here looking for help." Vice President Danny Wrench Sullivan knelt beside the twins, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Hey there, little ones. I'm Danny. What are your names?" "I'm Emma," the braver twin said. "This is Lily. She doesn't talk much anymore." Lily pressed closer to her sister, her silence speaking volumes about trauma endured. The assembled bikers exchanged dark glances, each man understanding the implications without words. Road Captain Tommy Blade Chen stepped forward, his usually stoic expression softening. "Where did you come from? How long were you walking?" Emma pointed toward the highway. "The house with the red door. We ran when they went to sleep, walked all night." Tank's phone buzzed, a text from Prospect Mike watching the perimeter. "3 vehicles heading this way, black SUVs." The garage fell silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Every man present knew what black SUVs meant in their world, either law enforcement or something worse. "Lock it down," Tank ordered. "Nobody gets these kids." The Steel Ravens moved with practiced efficiency, weapons appearing from hidden compartments as they prepared for whatever was coming through the darkness. The black SUVs circled the garage like predators, their tinted windows revealing nothing. Tank positioned himself at the main entrance while his brothers took defensive positions throughout the building. The twins huddled behind a workbench, Emma's arms wrapped protectively around her silent sister. A man in an expensive suit emerged from the lead vehicle, flanked by 2 others who moved like military contractors. He approached the garage with the confidence of someone accustomed to getting what he wanted. "Good evening," the man called through the door. "I believe you have something that belongs to me." Tank's voice carried the weight of 20 years leading the Steel Ravens. "Nothing here belongs to you, friend. Keep moving." "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding." Two children wandered away from their guardian. Their father is very worried. Jake positioned himself closer to the twins, his hand resting on the pistol beneath his jacket. These weren't fathers or guardians. They were hunters tracking escaped prey. "Show me some identification," Tank demanded. "Proof of custody." The man's patience was wearing thin. "These children are part of an ongoing federal investigation. I'm Agent Morrison, Department of Homeland Security." "Stand down and surrender them immediately." Emma's grip on her sister tightened. "They're lying," she whispered to Jake. "They're not police. They're the ones who hurt us." The pieces clicked into place for Jake. These weren't federal agents. They were the traffickers, desperate to reclaim their victims before the children could reveal their operation. Tank's response was measured but firm. "I'll need to see badges, warrants, and proper documentation. Until then, these children are under our protection." "You're interfering with federal business," the fake agent warned. "Stand down or face the consequences." The Steel Ravens had faced consequences before: raids, arrests, violence, and death. But they'd never backed down from protecting the innocent, even when it meant war. "Consequences work both ways," Tank replied, his voice carrying an unmistakable threat. The standoff stretched through the early morning hours, tension thick as desert heat. The fake agents maintained their positions outside, while the Steel Ravens fortified their garage sanctuary. Emma had finally convinced Lily to drink some water, though the younger twin remained mute, her eyes darting between the bikers and the windows. Sergeant-at-Arms Rico Bones Martinez monitored police scanners, confirming what they already suspected. No federal operation was registered in their area. These men were criminals, nothing more. "Tank," Bones reported quietly. "No chatter on any law enforcement frequencies. These guys are ghosts." Tank nodded, his suspicions confirmed. Real federal agents would have backup, proper channels, media attention. These men operated in shadows, just like the Steel Ravens, but without honor. Jake sat with the twins, trying to coax more information from Emma. "How many others were there? Other children?" Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "Lots. They kept us in different rooms. Some were younger than us." The implications hit the assembled bikers like physical blows. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a larger operation, a network that preyed on the most vulnerable. "Where exactly was this house?" Wrench asked, his mechanical expertise extending to detailed memory. "Past the truck stop, where the road turns toward the mountains. Big fence, cameras everywhere." Blade pulled up satellite maps on his phone, cross-referencing Emma's description with known locations. "I know that place. Thought it was some rich guy's compound." Outside, the fake agents were growing impatient. Their leader approached the door again, his veneer of authority cracking. "Final warning, return our property or we'll take it by force." Tank's response was immediate and uncompromising. "These children aren't property. They're human beings under our protection. You want them, you'll have to go through us." The man's mask finally slipped completely. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "Neither do you," Tank replied, chambering a round in his shotgun. Dawn painted the desert sky in shades of orange and pink, but the beauty was lost on the men preparing for battle. The Steel Ravens had faced rival clubs, law enforcement raids, and cartel violence, but this felt different, more personal, more righteous. Tank assigned positions while Jake stayed with the twins, who had finally fallen asleep against each other on a pile of shop rags. Their innocent faces, peaceful in sleep, reminded every man present why they were willing to fight. Reaper, you and the girls head to the back office, Tank ordered. Reinforce the door, keep them safe, no matter what happens out here. Jake nodded, understanding the unspoken message. If the Steel Ravens fell, he was the last line of defense for Emma and Lily. Wrench distributed ammunition, while Bones coordinated with other chapters via encrypted radio. The Brotherhood extended beyond their garage. Steel Ravens from 3 states were mobilizing, understanding that an attack on children was an attack on everything they claimed to stand for. Prospect Mike reports movement, Blade announced, monitoring their perimeter. They're bringing in more vehicles. Looks like they called for backup too. Through the windows, the bikers could see the traffickers' operation expanding. More SUVs, more men with military bearing, more weapons. This wasn't a simple recovery mission. It was a siege. Tank gathered his men for final instructions. Brothers, we've faced worse odds and survived, but this isn't about territory or respect. It's about protecting innocence. Every man here volunteered for this life, but those girls didn't volunteer for what happened to them. The assembled bikers nodded, understanding the weight of their choice. They could surrender the children and avoid bloodshed, or they could stand and fight for something bigger than themselves. Anyone wants to walk away, now's the time, Tank continued. No judgment, no shame. Not one man moved. The Steel Ravens had found their line in the sand, and they would defend it with their lives. The first shot shattered the morning silence, a sniper's bullet spiderwebbing the garage's front window. The Steel Ravens responded instantly, years of Brotherhood and combat experience taking over as they returned fire from defensive positions. Jake hustled the twins into the reinforced back office, Emma clutching her sister as gunfire erupted around them. "Stay down," he instructed, positioning himself between the children and the door. "Don't look, don't listen, just hold each other." Outside the office, the garage had become a war zone. Tank coordinated defensive fire, while his brothers used motorcycles and equipment as cover. The traffickers had superior numbers and equipment, but they were fighting on the Steel Ravens' territory. Wrench's mechanical expertise proved invaluable as he rigged improvised explosives from garage supplies, creating choke points and forcing the attackers to funnel into killing zones. Bones used his military background to direct crossfire, making every shot count. "They're trying to flank through the side bay," Blade reported, his voice calm despite the chaos, moving to intercept. The battle raged for what felt like hours but was probably minutes. The Steel Ravens fought with the desperation of men protecting family, while the traffickers fought with the cold efficiency of professionals. Then Emma's voice cut through the gunfire from the office. "There's more children at the house. They'll hurt them if we don't go back." Jake's blood ran cold. The twins weren't just victims. They were witnesses to an ongoing operation. Every minute the battle continued was another minute other children remained in captivity. Tank heard Emma's words during a brief lull in the fighting. The choice became clear: continue the defensive battle and hope for victory, or take the fight to the enemy and rescue the other victims. "Bones, call in the cavalry," Tank ordered. "We're going on the offensive." The Steel Ravens were about to transform from defenders into liberators. The distinctive rumble of Harley-Davidson engines echoed across the desert as reinforcements arrived. Steel Ravens from Phoenix, Tucson, and Las Vegas roared into the compound. Their arrival timed perfectly to catch the traffickers in a crossfire. Tank's brother chapters had mobilized with military precision, understanding that this battle transcended club politics. Road Captain Diesel from Phoenix led the charge, his crew flanking the traffickers' vehicles, while Tank's men pressed their advantage from the garage. The tide turned quickly. Faced with overwhelming force and superior tactics, the traffickers found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered. Their leader, the fake federal agent, tried to retreat to his SUV, but found his escape route blocked by angry bikers. "Surrender now and we'll let you live," Tank called out, his shotgun trained on the man who had threatened innocent children. But the trafficker's response was to grab a radio, presumably calling for more backup or alerting his network. Blade ended the transmission with a well-placed shot that destroyed the device. Within minutes, the shooting stopped. The surviving traffickers were zip-tied and secured while the Steel Ravens assessed their casualties. Miraculously, only minor wounds among the Brotherhood, a testament to their preparation and the righteousness of their cause. Jake emerged from the office with the twins, Emma blinking in the sudden sunlight while Lily remained pressed against her sister's side. The sight of so many bikers initially frightened them, but Emma recognized the Steel Raven's patches and relaxed slightly. "Are the bad men gone?" she asked Jake. "They're gone," he confirmed. "But we need your help to save the other children. Can you show us where they kept you?" Emma nodded solemnly, understanding that her nightmare wasn't over until every child was free. Tank approached, his expression grim but determined. "Time to finish this, brothers. We're going to that compound." The convoy of motorcycles and captured SUVs moved through the desert like an army of liberation. Emma rode with Jake in one of the vehicles, directing them toward the compound where other children remained imprisoned. The Steel Ravens had transformed from defenders into an unstoppable force of righteous anger. The compound appeared exactly as Emma had described, a sprawling property surrounded by high fences and security cameras designed to keep secrets hidden from the outside world. But the traffickers hadn't planned for an assault by determined bikers willing to die for innocent children. Tank coordinated the assault with military precision. Diesel's crew would breach the main gate while Bones led a team through the rear entrance. Jake would stay with the twins, using their knowledge of the compound's layout to guide rescue teams to the imprisoned children. "Remember," Tank addressed his assembled brothers, "we're here for the kids. Everything else is secondary. Anyone who surrenders gets zip-tied. Anyone who fights gets put down." The assault began at dawn, time to catch the compound's guards during shift change. The Steel Ravens moved with purpose, their usual chaotic energy channeled into focused determination. Emma guided Jake through the compound's layout, her small voice providing crucial intelligence. "The children are in the basement, 3 rooms. They keep the doors locked, but there's a master key in the office." The sound of gunfire echoed across the property as the Steel Ravens encountered resistance. But this wasn't the desperate defensive battle of the garage. This was controlled aggression, brothers working in perfect coordination to achieve their objective. Wrench located the office Emma had described, finding not just keys but computers, files, and evidence of a trafficking network that spanned multiple states. The scope of the operation was staggering. Dozens of children, multiple locations, millions in illegal profits. "Tank, you need to see this," Wrench called over the radio. "This is bigger than we thought." But Tank's priority remained singular. Rescue the children, then worry about the larger implications. The basement of the compound was a nightmare made real. 3 reinforced rooms held nearly 20 children, ranging in age from 6 to 14, all showing signs of prolonged abuse and trauma. The Steel Ravens, hardened men who had seen the worst of humanity, struggled to maintain composure as they freed each child. Jake used the master key while Emma spoke softly to the imprisoned children, her voice a beacon of hope in their darkness. "It's okay," she told them. "These are the good guys. They came to save us." Lily finally spoke for the first time since arriving at the garage, her voice barely a whisper as she recognized other children from their shared captivity. "Sarah, Tommy, we're going home." The rescued children clung to their liberators, these rough bikers becoming unlikely heroes in their darkest hour. Tank coordinated medical attention while Bones documented evidence for law enforcement, ensuring the traffickers would face justice. But the compound held more secrets. Wrench's exploration of the computer systems revealed connections to other operations, other locations where children remained in captivity. The Steel Ravens had struck a significant blow, but the war was far from over. We need to contact real law enforcement, Tank decided, understanding that the Brotherhood's resources, while considerable, weren't sufficient to dismantle an entire trafficking network. Diesel disagreed. Cops will ask questions we can't answer. How do we explain our involvement without admitting to multiple felonies? The dilemma was real. The Steel Ravens had saved these children through illegal means, using violence and intimidation that would land them in prison if discovered. But the evidence they'd uncovered could save hundreds more children if properly handled. Emma, overhearing their discussion, offered an unexpected solution. "There's a lady, FBI agent. She tried to help us before, but they moved us before she could find us." Agent Sarah Martinez. Tank and Jake exchanged glances. A legitimate federal agent who was already investigating the trafficking network could be their bridge between outlaw justice and legal resolution. Agent Sarah Martinez arrived at the compound within hours of Tank's carefully worded, anonymous tip. What she found challenged every assumption about jurisdiction, evidence, and justice. 20 rescued children, a dismantled trafficking operation, and clear signs that someone had taken the law into their own hands. The Steel Ravens had withdrawn before her arrival, leaving only evidence and rescued children. But Emma insisted on speaking with the agent, recognizing her from previous encounters during the investigation. "The motorcycle men saved us," Emma told Agent Martinez. "They fought the bad men and brought us home." Martinez, a 15-year veteran of federal law enforcement, understood the implications immediately. Vigilante justice was illegal, but the results spoke for themselves. Children were safe, traffickers were captured, and evidence was preserved. Tank watched from a distance through binoculars, ensuring the children were properly cared for before considering the Steel Ravens' next move. The Brotherhood had crossed a line they couldn't uncross, but none of them regretted their actions. Jake's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Agent Martinez, need to talk. Children safe but network still active. Your choice. Work together or let more kids suffer." The message was clear. The FBI agent was willing to bend rules if it meant saving more children. Tank made the decision that would define the Steel Ravens' future. They would work with law enforcement, not against it. The meeting was arranged for neutral ground, a truck stop halfway between the compound and the Steel Ravens' territory. Martinez arrived alone, as requested, her federal credentials meaning little in the face of moral necessity. "You saved those children," she told Tank directly. "But this network spans multiple states. I need your help to bring it down completely." Tank studied the agent, recognizing a kindred spirit despite their different badges. "What are you proposing?" "Partnership. You provide intelligence and muscle. I provide legal authority and resources. Together, we dismantle the entire operation." The Steel Ravens had found an unlikely ally in their war against evil. The partnership between the Steel Ravens and Agent Martinez proved devastatingly effective. The bikers' street connections and willingness to operate outside legal boundaries complemented the FBI's resources and authority, creating a hybrid force that traffickers couldn't predict or counter. Emma and Lily, now safely in protective custody, provided crucial intelligence about the network's operations. Their detailed accounts, combined with evidence from the compound, revealed a sophisticated organization that moved children between multiple states using legitimate businesses as cover. Tank assigned his most trusted brothers to work directly with Martinez, understanding that this collaboration required absolute discretion. Bones used his military intelligence background to analyze trafficking patterns, while Wrench's technical skills helped crack encrypted communications. The investigation revealed horrifying scope. The network had operated for years, moving hundreds of children through a pipeline of abuse and exploitation. The compound the Steel Ravens had raided was just one node in a much larger web. "They're moving operations," Martinez reported during a clandestine meeting at the truck stop. "Our raid spooked them. They're relocating children to backup facilities." Jake, who had become the twins' unofficial guardian during the investigation, felt his anger reignite. "How many more kids are we talking about?" "Conservative estimate, 60 to 80 children across 5 states. The numbers were staggering, but the Steel Ravens had committed to this fight completely. Tank made the decision that would transform their club forever. They would dedicate their resources to hunting traffickers until the network was completely destroyed. "We're in," Tank told Martinez. "Whatever it takes, however long it takes. These bastards picked the wrong enemy." The agent nodded, understanding that she had just allied with the most dangerous force the trafficking network would ever face. Bikers with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Wrench's analysis of seized computers revealed the network's next move, a major transfer of children scheduled for the following week, using a convoy of trucks disguised as a legitimate shipping company. "This is our chance," Martinez explained. "We intercept the convoy, rescue the children, and roll up the entire Western operation." Interstate 40 stretched endlessly through Arizona desert, its monotonous landscape hiding one of the largest child trafficking interdictions in federal history. The Steel Ravens positioned themselves at strategic points along the highway, while Agent Martinez coordinated with FBI tactical teams, creating a net the trafficking convoy couldn't escape. Jake rode point with Tank, their Harleys maintaining careful distance from the target vehicles. 3 semi-trucks and 2 escort SUVs carried precious cargo, children being moved to new locations after the compound raid. Emma's intelligence had been perfect. The convoy matched her descriptions exactly, down to the specific truck colors and license plate patterns. The girls' memory, sharpened by trauma, had become their most valuable asset in dismantling the network. "All units, this is Control." Martinez's voice crackled through encrypted radios. "Target convoy approaching checkpoint Alpha. Prepare for interdiction." The plan was surgical. Simultaneous stops of all vehicles to prevent escape or communication with other network cells. The Steel Ravens would provide perimeter security, while FBI teams secured the children and arrested the traffickers. But plans rarely survived contact with desperate criminals. The lead truck's driver spotted the roadblock and made a fatal decision. He accelerated, attempting to ram through the FBI vehicles. Tank and Jake reacted instantly, their motorcycles flanking the truck as it careened toward the checkpoint. Jake drew his pistol, targeting the truck's tires, while Tank radioed warnings to the tactical teams. The massive vehicle swerved violently, its driver fighting to maintain control as bullets shredded rubber and steel. The truck jackknifed across both lanes, blocking the highway and trapping the convoy. FBI agents swarmed the vehicles while Steel Ravens secured the perimeter, their combined force overwhelming the traffickers' resistance. Inside the trucks, agents found 43 children in various states of trauma and abuse. The sight hardened even veteran FBI agents, but for the Steel Ravens, it was personal validation of their crusade. Emma and Lily, watching from a safe distance with social workers, saw their former captors led away in handcuffs. The nightmare that had consumed their young lives was finally ending. The trials that followed made national headlines. A trafficking network dismantled through unprecedented cooperation between federal agents and a motorcycle club. The Steel Ravens' involvement was carefully sanitized in official reports, but their contribution was undeniable. Agent Martinez testified before Congress about the investigation, advocating for new approaches to combating trafficking that recognize the value of unconventional partnerships. Her career was transformed by the success, leading to promotion and expanded authority to pursue similar cases. For the Steel Ravens, the aftermath was more complex. Their club had evolved from a traditional outlaw organization into something unprecedented. Vigilantes with federal sanction operating in the gray areas where law enforcement couldn't reach. Tank made the decision to formalize their new mission. The Steel Ravens would continue their traditional club activities, but they would also maintain a specialized unit dedicated to protecting children and hunting traffickers. Jake became the unit's leader, his bond with Emma and Lily symbolizing the club's transformation. The twins, now in permanent protective custody with loving foster families, maintained contact with their biker saviors, understanding that these rough men had given them their lives back. Emma's testimony during the trials was devastating to the defense. Her clear, precise recollection of events and locations led to convictions that would keep traffickers imprisoned for decades. Lily, still recovering from her trauma, was shielded from the legal proceedings, but was making progress in therapy. The network's dismantling saved hundreds of children and led to arrests across multiple states. But for the Steel Ravens, the real victory was personal. They had found purpose beyond themselves, a mission that gave meaning to their outlaw existence. Wrench established a foundation using seized trafficking assets, providing support for rescued children and funding anti-trafficking operations. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Money earned through child exploitation was now being used to protect children. The Steel Ravens had discovered that redemption was possible, even for those who lived outside society's rules. 6 months after the convoy interdiction, the Steel Ravens MC had become something unique in the outlaw world, a brotherhood that balanced traditional club culture with legitimate heroism. Their reputation attracted new members who shared their mission, while also earning grudging respect from law enforcement agencies. Jake stood in the renovated garage, now equipped with computers, communication equipment, and a secure room for interviewing rescued children. The transformation reflected the club's evolution, still rough around the edges, but focused on protection rather than destruction. Emma and Lily visited regularly, their presence a reminder of why the Steel Ravens had chosen this path. Emma had become remarkably resilient, her natural leadership helping other rescued children adjust to freedom. Lily remained quieter, but was slowly finding her voice again through art therapy. "Uncle Jake," Emma said during one visit, using the title that had evolved naturally. "There's something I need to tell you about the network." Jake knelt to her level, understanding that Emma's memory often revealed new details as she processed her experiences. "What is it, sweetheart?" "There's another place, bigger than the compound. They called it the ranch. That's where they took the older kids." The revelation sent chills through the assembled bikers. Despite their success, the network had deeper roots than anyone suspected. Agent Martinez, now a permanent liaison with the Steel Ravens, immediately began investigating Emma's new intelligence. Tank gathered his brothers for what had become their new ritual, planning another rescue mission. The Steel Ravens had found their calling, and they would pursue it until every trafficker was behind bars and every child was safe. "Brothers," Tank addressed the assembled club, "we've got more work to do. Emma's given us a new target, and Martinez has federal backing for another operation." The response was immediate and unanimous. The Steel Ravens were ready for war again. As the sun set over the Arizona desert, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, the Steel Ravens prepared for their next mission. They had transformed from outlaws into protectors, finding redemption through service to the innocent. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and moral complexity, but for the first time in their lives, the Steel Ravens knew they were fighting for something pure and righteous, the safety of children who had no one else to protect them. Their Harleys rumbled to life, ready to ride into whatever darkness awaited, carrying the light of justice into places where law enforcement couldn't reach. The steel ravens had found their purpose, and they would never surrender it.